Hi ladies in YouTube world, this is Joyce. I have a quick, hopefully quick, tutorial. Just wanted to show you what you can do with these nice little boxes from Micheals that are in the dollar bins. I don't know if they have any more of them left. I bought 3 of them when I started thinking, oh, I won't do anything with them. But over the weekend, sort of rain bound, decided to do something. Wasn't really into stamping or tag making, so I ended up doing something a little bit different, and I just wanted to share that with you. First of all, I just wanted to show you what you need to do to prep these boxes. Sometimes the edges are a little bit rough, and you may need to sand them. The other thing that I ended up doing is there is a Phillips screw here. You want to take that knob off to make things easier. And the one more step that I did remove the band here, which is a stretch band, which is the same as what you use for ponytails. I just cut the knot inside of that and took those out of the boxes because what I wanted to do was coordinate that band with whatever color paper I did use. So those are the 2 things that I did to first start, and then I just wanted to sort of show you the end products. And I did make 2 of these. These took about 3 hours. Most of that was drying time. First one I made was this beautiful turquoise one, which is going to be for myself to keep. And then the other one that I ended up doing tonight is this paisley red one. And I'm going to just show you quickly how I ended up doing on each of those. After I removed the handles and the band, first thing I did was paint the inside. And I ended up using Luminaire turquoise paint. The reason I chose those are Micheals, is they are a softer paint. They tend to absorb, but yet they stay a little bit more pliable. And being that this is real thin wood, I want it to be able to not crack and still withdraw being pulled up and down several times. Paper collection I use, both sheets are from the Bella Chia collections, and that's one Korea, and then this is the other one. This one actually has a big rose on it, but I did not like the rose, so I ended up basically using the paper that didn't have that part. And I'm hand holding this, so I'm sorry for the shakiness tonight. I just wanted to zoom in so you could see I am a vivid lover of turquoise, and I also love butterflies. I spend most of my summer out photographing butterflies. First step I did once I got the paint in there and got it good and dried was I didn't cut my paper. I measured it down and cut it into a long strip. You basically only use about 1/3 of your sheet of paper. And then once I got that down, I ended up taking this and laying it flat to the paper and traced it, outlined it so I could cut this curve to the top. And also you want to do that on this curve to the bottom section. And I made sure that I started at the bottom so I could line up this little extra print down here first. I just didn't want it to be awkward and not be in the lineup. And actually I did a pretty good job of keeping it lined up pretty well. That's the hardest thing on these, was keeping your print straight. So what I ended up doing was, once I got my paper cut and trimmed, I basically took Mod Podge and put a pretty thick layer, about 1 inch at a time for my area, laid my paper down over top of it, smoothed it out with a bone folder, and just kept doing that. I started in the front, work all the way to the back, spending a lot of extra time on this back curve. Even though you still can get buckling, which I do have in here. You want to make sure you get your air bubbles out of it really good and get it flat. And then when you come to each of the bends in the paper, like on the curves here, you want to crease that real well. Same thing on that one. Then I go and focus onto the side, same thing. I end up cutting my paper down first and then laying it down with the paper, or the Mod Podge, excuse me, both sides. And I tried to line it up the best I could, but it actually, it doesn't matter because it does get trimmed, basically covered by the trim anyways. So I set that side, let it dry real good, and then my next focus was what was I going to embellish it with, and that's where I went next, because it does take a while for that glue and the paint to dry real well. This was a white, I believe a white Prima. It's got some of the crystals on it. I got that in my bottle swap from my swap partner Sarah. This was white. I ended up taking it and spraying it with sherbet, and then I oversprayed a couple areas with Cosmo Pink as well to give it a little more depth. And it had some bling on it already, some of the crystals on it, but while it was still damp, I sprinkled it with, I have this Peacock iridescent embossing powder, so while that was still in there, I ended up spraying it on, so it does glisten a little bit more. And then also I worked on some flowers, and this is the blue turquoise flower in the back is a petalum flower, and basically got those on there. So, and once I decided I liked my coloring with that, I ended up working on the butterfly. And the butterfly happens to be the acetate butterfly from the Tim Coffey collection. And basically I had a lot of extra clear around it, cut it down, cut the wings in, gave it some depth by bending around the body, and then also curving the wings over a paintbrush or a pencil worked real well to give it some movement and sensation. Once I had those done, by that point in time my paint was pretty dry and the paper was pretty dry, so then I wanted a little more sparkle, so I oversprayed everything with the iridescent gold glimmer mist all the way around, including the sides. Set it aside, let it dry real well, and then I ended up working on the trim. The trim basically worked out really well. It was a pink braid. I did not have to spray it or anything like that. And basically what I did was I measured from back to the front, and then I just took my matte accent, which is like glossy accent, put a dab over here all the way down, a nice thick bead, held it down till it held real good, made sure that I got the edges. You can still see they break up a little bit. And then once that side was done, I turned it and bent it over to the other way. And this braid basically split really well to let you do that. So once I had that all established and it seemed to connect, then I ended up taking a bead of glued all the way down the top part here, excuse me. And then as you can see, I hooked that braid to the edge of the paper pretty well and brought it all the way down to the front. Prior to doing that, I also, which I forgot to tell you, when I did both of the edges out front here, I ended up also doing the same thing on this scalloped edge here. And then once I had this point, this is when I pulled it over and wrapped it down to the inside. That takes a lot of time to dry, so while that was drying, next step I ended up doing was I concentrated on getting my band back in, and basically I picked a pink band ponytail thing to put in there. Flipped this over, ended up putting on some feet. As you can see, the feet are just Moroccan plastic beads. 4 of those, just a big glob of glue underneath there, let them dry. And basically I set it up this way so it would dry evenly. And pretty well when the point that the paper was real good and dry and the glue on the banding was good and dry, I just layered my flowers and the butterfly on. The butterfly's a little tricky. You got to really hold him because he slides all around until it dries. But once he dries, he pretty well was on there. And that's pretty well it. The only thing else I did differently was I did take the fragment, and it is one of the charms, and I took the butterfly, which happens to be on turquoise, which you can't see real well because of the glare. That is from the Mariposa stack, and hooked that underneath there using the matte accents as well, and basically put it on the knob, reconnected the knob, and pretty well that's it on that one. Next one I did do, like I said, I did this one tonight. Took me about 3 hours. Same thing, letting it dry. Process was the same. A little different on this one was I did distress some of the edges using the scattered straw because there was this dressing already on the paper. So wherever I cut it, I had to make it match. Took this trim, this braid trim was red and white. Actually, I got it from Christmas from Joann's for like $1. And sprayed painted it, or glimmer mist it with suede to bring the color of the white down. Same thing on the flowers on top. That's a Prima. The new ones, that's that green. I don't know if you can see it underneath the green. Double sprayed it with glimmer mist, and I believe it was a mimosa, and then turn around and use this sunflower color. Oh, what was the color called? Tuscan Sun, to give it the golden yellow color. Those are the small Primas. Those were actually sprayed over with red velvet to give them more depth of the red to match the red in it. And then the flower, or the leaf in the background, is from the fall collection. It was a goldenrod color. I didn't like it, so I oversprayed it with leapfrog or lily pad and I can't remember, English ivory, and also put a little bit of iridescent. I don't think you can see it, but I did while they were still both wet. I put that peacock iridescent embossing powder on both of those things and oversprayed with a little glimmer of the iridescent gold. And the box was also sprayed. Difference on this was I used the burgundy color inside. Used one of the daisies out of the paper that was actually from the center of that paisley print. And the other thing that I did differently with this was I did put trim down along the bottom, and the feet are back to the Moroccan beads. I did over I colored them with a little bit of red to tie it all together, and that's it. So those are the two things that you do very quickly and nicely using the wooden boxes from Target or from Micheals. Have a nice evening.